Right.
And I will fish out the things I need to work on today's project.
Ooh.
Ooh.
All right. Let's see. It's the Shagrat and Gorbag.
Indeed, indeed.
This fellow isn't dead. Is that where we finished up?
I think we might have been like one section further along.
Sam reeled, clutching at the stone, yada yada.
Yeah, there's like that short section, and then I think that's where we left it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for the moment, to prop himself against the unmoving stone and listen. Listen to the vile orc voices. What are you working on?
A shirt.
Pretty.
Thank you. I'm gonna sew it together.
Nice. I have decided in my fluffy old age that I really love t-shirt fabric and I really hate t-shirt cuts. So I'm going to learn how to adjust and do creative things with t-shirts so that I can wear them and not feel completely frumpy. Like this one's a little different because it's got the cute little Millennium Falcon thing, but in general, I at least cut there. All right, hang on. Mike, let's see if this works again.
I really want things that are made out of cotton or linen or things that are more breathable than, polyester.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That is why I'm working on a shirt, because it is cotton fabric.
I like stretchy fabrics because I'm a marshmallow. That was better, but it's not great. One more try. What about speaker? Ooh. Eh? How does that sound?
It's so far, it's all sounded the same to me.
Okay. It will be very distracting to me if I listen to my own echo while I'm talking, but only a bit. I can only hear it a bit right now. It's not like...
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not an Anglophobe or anything, but these guys are written in Cockney, so we're going to read them in Cockney. Or a sort of Cockney Australian, because that's about the best I can do for either of those accents. It's a sad little American mix.
And I'm sitting here going, what do you mean we're going to read them in Cockney? I definitely didn't.
God, said Shagrat. One more try. Hang on. Sorry. Do 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 do. She's got more than one poison. When she's hunting, she just gives him a stab in the neck and they go as limp as boned fish, and then she has her way with them. Consent?
I don't think she's heard of that.
Do you remember old Ooftak? We lost him for days. Then we found him in a corner. Hanging up he was, but he was wide awake and glaring. How we laughed. She'd forgotten him, maybe, but we didn't touch him. No good interfering with her. That's the darkest story ever told.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, first of all, you think it's going to end up with, like, how we laughed, and then we got him down. Nope.
No, we left him there to get eaten.
We thought
Sorry,
it was fine.
Dude.
I doubt they even apologized.
Nope. Nah, this little filth, he'll wake up in a few hours, and beyond feeling a bit sick for a bit, he'll be all right. Or would be if Logbirds would let him alone. And of course, beyond wondering where he is and what's happened to him, and what's going to happen to him, laughed Gorbag. We can tell him a few stories at any rate if we can't do anything else. I don't suppose he's ever been in lovely Lugbos, so he may like to know what to expect. This is going to be more funny than I thought. Let's go. There's going to be no fun, I tell you, said Shagrat. And he's got to be kept safe or we're all as good as dead. All right, but if I were you, I'd catch the big one that's loose before you send in any report to Lugberts. It won't sound too pretty to say you've caught the kitten and let the cat escape, which suggests that orcs keep cats as pets.
What do you think about that? She has no opinion.
She's like, hell, if they feed me.
Basically.
Or it could be that they were talking about wild cats. But they tend to talk of cubs, not kittens, when they're talking of wild cats.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to think that orcs probably keep cats.
Yeah.
Well, or they, like, keep cats as, like, you know.
A larder?
Yeah.
Or they have cat fighting pits.
I don't know if you could... That doesn't seem like a thing you could really train, like, consistently. You know? Like, I feel like if cats were good sport fighting animals, some human would have figured that out by now.
The Sauron managed to corrupt other species. Maybe he did that to cats too. Maybe there's corrupted cats. Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah. Why does it keep doing that? Yeah. Well, okay. Doop. Doop.
Doop, doop, doop.
You're fucking up my echo test when you do that.
Oh, sorry.
It's all good. I just realized there was a green screen option on here, so that makes me happy. I'll have to try it someday. The voices began to move away. Sam heard the sound of feet receding. He was recovering from his shock, and now a wild fury was on him. I got it all wrong, he cried. I knew I would. Now they've got him, the devils, the filth. Never leave your master, never, never. That was my right rule, and I knew it in my heart. May I be forgiven. Now I've got to get back to him, somehow, somehow. He drew his sword again and beat on the stone with the hilt, but it only gave out a dull sound. The sword, however, blazed so brightly now that he could see dimly in its light. To his surprise, he noticed that the great block was shaped like a heavy door and was less than twice his own height. Above it was a dark, blank space between the top and the low arch of the opening. It was probably only meant to be a stop against the intrusion of Shelob, fastened on the inside with some latch or bolt beyond the reach of her cunning. With his remaining strength, Sam leaped and caught the top, scrambled up and dropped, and then he ran madly, sword blazing in hand, round a bend and up a winding tunnel. The news that his master was still alive roused him to a last effort beyond thought of weariness. He could not see anything ahead, for this new passage twisted and turned constantly, but he thought he was catching the two orcs up. Excuse me. Their voices were growing nearer again. Now they seemed quite close. That's what I'm going to do, said Shagrat in angry tones. Put him right up in the top chamber. What for? Growled Gorbag. Haven't you any lockups down below? He's going out of harm's way, I tell you, answered Shagrat. See? He's precious. I don't trust all my lads and none of yours, nor you neither when you're mad for fun. He's going where I want him and where you won't come if you don't keep civil. Up to the top, I say. He'll be safe there. Willie, said Sam, you're forgetting the great big elvish warrior that's loose. And with that he raced round the last corner, only to find that by some trick of the tunnel or of the hearing which the ring gave him, he had misjudged the distance. The two orc figures were still some way ahead. He could see them now, black and squat against the red glare. The passage ran straight at last, up an incline, and at the end, wide open, were great double doors leading probably to deep chambers far below the high horn of the tower. Already the orcs, with their burden, had passed inside. Gorbag and Shagrat were drawing near the gate. Sam heard a burst of hoarse singing, blaring of horns, and banging of gongs, a hideous clamor. Gorbag and Shagrat were already on the threshold. Sam yelled and brandished Sting, but his little voice was drowned in the tumult. No one heeded him. The great doors slammed to. Boom! The bars of iron fell into place inside. Clang! The gate was shut. Sam hurled himself against the bolted brazen plates and fell senseless to the ground. He was out in the darkness. Frodo was alive, but taken by the enemy.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. And I need to go fetch my copy of Return of the King.
We're on to Return of the King.
We made it!
We made it!
Did I tell you about Avi's observation last week?
Possibly. I don't recall.
When I read him about the elven cloaks.
No, I don't think you mentioned it to me.
Yeah, when we read the description of the elven cloaks that are gray or silver or green or brown, depending on the light they're in, Avi's response was, "Oh, so it's like Saruman's cloak. Did he steal Lothlorien weaving technology?
Probably.
To make his robe?" I was like,
I mean, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Probably.
It's clever. Not a connection I'd ever made.
Right? Never thought about it.
Nope. I posted it in a nerdy group, and people are sharing their own stories, and one of them is that somebody's daughter was reading their 6-year-old son the Lord of the Rings, and when she got to the Palantir, she asked the little one what he thought Palantir was, just to make sure he was keeping up with the story. He said, "Well, it's Saruman's telephone." Like, yes, children get it.
Yep. Probably even better than children back then did, because a Palantir is not that different from a cell phone.
Right? It's a smartphone. Oh, and the way the rings work is very like, like you would have a master code, and what are those things called? VPNs. The elven rings are VPNs.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. Talk to the internet while I'm gone.
Let me see. What shall I talk about, internet? I'm working on a shirt. Right now I'm doing a running back stitch on the side seams to kind of get those tacked together. There is no shaping at all. It's like basically a tunic, or like a, whatever. It's just a square. I just want something sort of drapey and flowy and breathable. Yeah. So, yeah. And seam. No, seam and not seen.
Awesome. So now for the next, let's see, 200 pages? No, not that much. Did I read Pelennor Fields, Denethor, Houses of Healing, Last Debate, Tower of Cirith Ungol. So for the next 180 pages, we get to just leave Samwise lying.
Yes. Can you imagine when this came out and you had been like waiting for what happened, and then you were like, what, where's Sam?
Damn it, Jonald! I would have skipped ahead shamelessly. Haunted the bookstore while we were waiting for the next edition to come out.
At least it wasn't serialized.
Right. I'm actually rather grateful that the publishers insisted on 3 volumes because it makes it a lot easier to read in the tub.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've tried to read a single volume edition. It's heavy. I ain't got the wrists for that.
No, I don't. I have weak, floppy little wrists with possibly a cyst in this one.
Oof.
It grows and shrinks, but it always makes my grip weaker.
Yeah, sounds like a ganglion cyst, maybe?
Right? I don't know. That's definitely not the first thing I'm going to ask my doctor about when I get around to calling him. I'm actually going to request that they yank out my gallbladder because I too often have the back pain and the gut issues that I know are directly related to gallstones.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there was a long time when it was worth it to know that I could break down fats properly because I had all my organs, and it's just not worth it anymore.
Yeah, no, if it's causing you pain, like you can adjust perfectly well to life without a gallbladder. Lots of people do.
Yep. Part of me hates being so basic. Like, oh, white American woman who hit 40, of course your gallbladder is going to break. That's they all do.
Look, you can talk to your organs about being basic white girls all you want. Call them Karen. But at the end of the day, you got to kick them out if they're giving you sass.
No, its name will be Frank because I liked scrubs.
Okay. I just meant Karen in the sense of like being a pain.
Right. Oh, I did. I wanted to Karen out on that waitress today so bad. I wanted to be like, you just charged me what for what? 50 cents for a teaspoon of dressing? Like, that was the wrong call, sweetheart. It was your opportunity to be like, we hardly have any left. Let me just give it to you gratis.
Resist the dark side.
I did.
I know you did.
I gave her a hurt puppy dog look, but that wasn't me being manipulative. That was just me being hurt. Okay.
I had Ethiopian food for lunch. It was delicious.
Ooh, love Ethiopian food. I haven't had it in years.
I hadn't either. I hadn't had it since before the pandemic. But we wanted to have Indian food. I had lunch with Sandy. Yeah. We wanted to have Indian, but the Indian place was closed. So instead, we had Ethiopian.
That's a good trade-off. I wonder, they use a different kind of wheat for those crepe things that you
injera.
Yeah. Wonder if I could digest those.
I would imagine. I mean, it's worth a try because it's also sourdough, so it's sort of pre-digested.
Right. I have learned that sourdough doesn't count. My body still sees that as wheat and reacts accordingly.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. But maybe if it's not grown in this country. I think it associates all wheat with glyphosates, and it's going to react as though there's neurotoxins in the wheat, even if there's not. But I'm willing to try. And it won't like make me deathly ill or anything. It'll just make me very uncomfortable for a day. So it's worth being my own guinea pig.
I mean, we got to decide for ourselves.
Yep.
Something guinea pig, something. I'm sorry. I'm still very sleepy.
Chapter 1, Minas Tirith.
Chapter 1, Minas Tirith.
Pippin. We're back to Pippin. Yay!
I have completely forgotten what Pippin was doing, but I know he's in Minas Tirith.
He's getting there. He's been riding with Gandalf.
Yes.
Yes. He looked in the Palantir.
Yes.
He checked out Saruman's smartphone, and now it has his face in its facial recognition software.
This is why you should never turn on facial recognition. For the folks at home, don't turn on facial recognition.
Right.
Don't give your biometric information to the cops.
Or, the villains. The fascisti. Right. Don't give your face information to the fascisti.
No faces for fascists.
Pippin looked out from the shelter of Gandalf's cloak. He wondered if he was awake or still sleeping, still in the swift-moving dream in which he had been wrapped so long since the great ride began. The dark world was rushing by, and the wind sang loudly in his ears. He could see nothing but the wheeling stars, and away to his right vast shadows against the sky where the mountains of the south marched past. Sleepily, he tried to reckon the times and stages of their journey, but his memory was drowsy and uncertain. There had been the first ride at terrible speed without a halt, and then in the dawn he had seen a pale gleam of gold, and they had come to the silent town and the great empty house on the hill. And hardly had they reached its shelter when the winged shadow had passed over once again, and men wilted with fear. But Gandalf had spoken soft words to him, and he had slept in a corner, tired but uneasy, dimly aware of comings and goings, and of men talking, and Gandalf giving orders. I know that's a really benevolent version, but once again, Hobbit getting roofied.
Yeah, why do people keep roofing hobbits, honestly? Rude.
So rude. And then again riding in the night. This was the third night since he had looked in the stone. And with that hideous memory, he woke fully and shivered, and the noise of the wind became filled with menacing voices. A light kindled in the sky, a blaze of yellow fire behind dark barriers. Pippin cowered back, afraid for a moment, wondering into what dreadful country Gandalf was bearing him. He rubbed his eyes, and then he saw that it was the moon, rising above the eastern shadows, now almost at the full. So the night was not yet old, and for hours the dark journey would go on. He stirred and spoke. "Where are we, Gandalf?" he asked. "In the realm of Gondor," the wizard answered. "The land of Anorion is still passing by." There was silence again for a while. Then, "What is that?" cried Pippin suddenly, clutching at Gandalf's cloak. "Look! Fire! Red fire! Are there dragons in this land? Look, there is another!" For answer, Gandalf cried aloud to his horse. "On, Shadowfax! We must hasten. Time is short. See, the beacons of Gondor are alight, calling for aid." I actually like the movie version better, where Denethor resisted that. It's just more dramatic. This is more real. The movie's always going to be more dramatic. The book is always going to be more real.
Mm-hmm.
"War is kindled. See, there is the fire on Amon-Dûn, and flame on Eilenach, and there they go speeding west. Nardol, Erelas, Minrimon, Calenad, and the Halafirian on the borders of Rohan." There will be a quiz.
Indeed. Not to mention that the beacons are the reason why there's that shot in Two Towers movie where Aragorn goes whoosh with the doors, and Éowyn and everyone else who likes men are like, "Hello."
Hello.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah. And the sweeping helicopter shot over the mountains.
Mm-hmm. With the little huts for the beacon keepers.
So I always the Hobbit actors in the commentary talk about how they figure there's generations of the keepers of the lights, and they have a box of matches they pass down to their son. But I always figured it would work better if it was more like jury duty, you know? Mm-hmm. You drew the short straw, you have to go live on the mountain for 4 months. Just consider it a vacation. You don't have to plow any fields or clean up any horse muck.
I was thinking of it more like lighthouse keeping. Okay, you're hired to be a beacon keeper, and then you go and live in the wherever for however long. Right. And but like, yeah, you have a tour of duty and then you go home for a little bit and then you come back. But like, yeah, his lighthouse keepers in real life live in pretty similar conditions where it's like incredibly remote and very hard to get in and out, which is why we need a lighthouse right here.
Yeah, and what you're doing is important, but not like every second important, but your vigilance needs to be every second.
Yeah.
Yeah. And imagine being the people who have the job of getting wood piled up again after the lighting of the beacons. Like, oh shit, gotta climb up Min Ramon. This hasn't happened in 40 years, and it was no fun that time either.
I wonder if that's like a community event.
Right? Barn raising.
All of the beekeepers and their families and their villages come up. Yeah.
Right. At least as far as the cinematographers are concerned, those were some really inaccessible places. It wasn't like there was a logging road leading up to that spot.
Yes. Do you get the thing when you're hand sewing where you're like, is this enough thread that I should cut it off, or should I do a few more stitches? Like, I'm so close to where I'm stopping for the sleeve, but like, I don't think
it's not quite enough.
It's not quite enough, which is so annoying.
Oh yeah, and it's like a specific Murphy's Law that applies to hand stitching, that there's always going to be this much too little.
Right, because even if it only took the amount of the distance, like I'd only have this much left. So I think I should just bite the bullet and cut it off and be annoyed with Murphy for a second.
That's what he's for.
God damn it, Murphy.
But Shadowfax paused in his stride, slowing to a walk, and then he lifted up his head and neighed. And out of the darkness the answering neigh of other horses came, and presently the thudding of hooves was heard, and 3 riders swept up and passed like flying ghosts in the moon and vanished into the west. Then Shadowfax gathered himself together and sprang away, and the night flowed over him like a roaring wind. Pippin became drowsy again and paid little attention to Gandalf telling him of the customs of Gondor, and how the lord of the city had beacons built on the tops of outlying hills along both borders of the Great Range, and maintained posts at these points where fresh horses were always in readiness to bear his errand riders to Rohan in the north, or to Belfalas in the south. "It is long since the beacons of the north were lit," he said, "and in the ancient days of Gondor they were not needed, for they had the 7 stones." Pippin stirred uneasily. "Sleep again, and do not be afraid," said Gandalf, "for you are not going like Frodo to Mordor, but to Minas Tirith, and there you will be as safe as you can be anywhere in these days. If Gondor falls, or the ring is taken, then the Shire will be no refuge." "You do not comfort me," said Pippin, but nonetheless sleep crept over him. The last thing that he remembered before he fell into deep dream was a glimpse of high white peaks glimmering like floating isles above the clouds as they caught the light of the westering moon. He wondered where Frodo was, and if he was already in Mordor, or if he was dead. And he did not know that Frodo from far away looked on that same moon as it set beyond Gondor ere the coming of the day. See, it's been... How long has it been?
I don't know. I wasn't counting.
12 days, I think.
Jeez.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking, like, that doesn't seem like a very long time for so much to have happened. Did you see the film clip where Dom and Billy were on Stephen Colbert's show? And they were...
I haven't yet.
Okay, well, I won't tell you, but you should definitely watch it.
I will absolutely do that. That's from the Fall of Barad-dûr. Okay, so The Great Years, 3019. Snow on Caradhras. Farewell to Lunya. The fellowship broke on the 26th of February. So they're into March at this point.
Yeah, that's God, that's not very long. Oh, man.
Right. Oh my goodness. Aragorn overtaken by Dunedain, Frodo taken by Faramir to Henneth Anun. I guess that's where... No. On the 5th, there was the parley with Saruman. Yeah, Henneth Anun is where Frodo is right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, because then when they leave, then Faramir has to go back to, like, Osgiliath and then to Minas Tirith.
Right? Yeah, Gandalf set out with Peregrine for Minas Tirith on the 5th, and he just said it's been 2 days. So yeah, Frodo is looking out through the waterfall at the moon setting and thinking about his friends and stuff.
What do you know?
Yeah. Pippin woke to the sound of voices. Another day of hiding and a night of journey had fleeted by. It was twilight. The cold dawn was at hand again, and chill grey mists were about them. I don't have an Alexa plugged in right now, so I can't yell at Avi for the squeaking of the floor.
Oh.
Hopefully someone will have thought of that. Shadowfax stood, steaming with sweat, but he held his neck proudly and showed no sign of weariness. Many tall men, heavily cloaked, stood beside him, and behind them in the mist loomed a wall of stone. Partly ruinous, it seemed, but already before the night was past, the sound of hurried labor could be heard. Beat of hammers, clink of trowels, and the creak of wheels. Torches and flares glowed dully here and there in the fog. Gandalf was speaking to the men that barred his way, and as he listened, Pippin became aware that he himself was being discussed. "Yea, truly, we know you, Mithrandir," said the leader of the men. "And you know the passwords of the 7 gates, and are free to go forward. But we do not know your companion. What is he? A dwarf out of the mountains in the north? We wish for no strangers in the land at this time, unless they be mighty men of arms in whose faith and help we can trust." "I will vouch for him before the seat of Denethor," said Gandalf. "And as for valor that cannot be computed by stature, he has passed through more battles and perils than you have, Ingold, though you be twice his height, and he comes now from the storming of Isengard, of which we bear tidings, and great weariness is on him, or I would wake him. His name is Peregrine, a very valiant man." "Man?" said Ingold dubiously, and the others laughed. "Man?" cried Pippin, now thoroughly roused. "Man? Indeed not. I am a hobbit, and no more valiant than I am a man, save perhaps now and again by necessity. Do not let Gandalf deceive you." "Many a doer of great deeds might say no more," said Ingold. "We know you're valiant because you're humble. Caught you."
Ha ha! Clever.
"But what is a hobbit?" "A halfling," answered Gandalf. "Nay, not the one that was spoken of," he added, seeing the wonder in the men's faces. "Not he, yet one of his kindred." "Yes, and one who journeyed with him," said Pippin. "And Boromir of your city was with us, and he saved me in the snows of the north, and at the last he was slain, defending me from many foes." "Peace," said Gandalf. "The news of that grief should have been told first to the father." "It has been guessed already," said Ingold, "for there have been strange portents of late. But pass on now quickly, for the Lord of Minas Tirith will be eager to see any that bear the latest tidings of his son, be he man or—" "Hobbit," said Pippin. Little service can I offer to your lord, but what I can do, I would do, remembering Boromir the Brave. Fare you well, said Ingold, and the men made way for Shadowfax, and he passed through a narrow gate in the wall. May you bring good counsel to Denethor in his need, and to us all, Mithrandir, Ingold cried. But you come with tidings of grief and danger, as is your wont, they say. Because I come seldom, but when my help is needed, answered Gandalf. And as for counsel, to you I would say that you are over late in repairing the wall of the Pelennor. Courage will now be your best defense against the storm that is at hand, that and such hope as I bring. For not all the tidings that I bring are evil. But leave your trowels and sharpen your swords. And the work will be finished ere evening, said Ingold. This is the last portion of the wall to be put in defense, the least open to attack, for it looks towards our friends of Rohan. Do you know aught of them? Will they answer the summons, think you? Yes, they will come, but they have fought many battles at your back. This road and no road looks towards safety any longer. Be vigilant, but for Gandalf Stormcrow you would have seen a host of foes coming out of Anorian and no riders of Rohan. And you may yet. Very well, and sleep.
Typical Gandalf.
Right?
Except for me, you might be dead. Also, you might still die. I don't know. Bye.
Everything is not dark except Psyche. Everything is dark.
I don't bring only evil news, but it's mostly evil.
Yeah. I bring some good news, but it's not that good. I was wrong. It's bad.
I don't want to hear any bad news. Bad news in a good way. Sounds so bad.
Sauron has betrayed us.
He's built an army of orcs. They almost conquered Rohan.
We're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
We're in an awful lot of trouble.
Oh, joy. Oy vey.
I have done one side seam and a couple of inches of the second side seam, so good progress being made here.
Huzzah! It's going to be a very bright and cheerful shirt.
It will. It's actually one of Dad's old scrub tops.
Nice.
That I'm just cutting down for myself. Yeah.
Cool.
Yes,
I would
indeed.
love to head out to Paonia and see Dad and stuff. I also just want to get the hell out of town, like, a lot. I want to go camping. I want to meet Kit's baby. She's fucking walking, and I haven't even met her.
So you should go meet her.
Yeah. Yeah, I should.
She was not walking last time I was there. That trips me out, too.
I have started on another egg project. It's R2.
R2! I like it.
Yeah. It's a little difficult because I forgot that dipping it in the dye would wash away all my marks, so I have to remark all his face. Damn it. I should have just bit the bullet and outlined it all in white so that I would know where it was. But this is a lot more precise than I could get before I had the black wax, so I'm pretty happy about that.
That's awesome.
So, are you coming down again sometime?
I mean, presumably. I don't have any immediate plans to, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go get some dinner and probably go back to sleep.
Drugs. Yes, medication. Do it. Oh, I had the funny story. Damn, I wanted to tell you the funny story. I was reminded by seeing this on my screen. Okay. So Mondo and Christina got married yesterday, 2 days ago. Sorry, Saturday. And when I went into the bathroom to find Millie, there were a few people there, and one of them saw my pent and went, "Oh, are you Wiccan?" And I was like, "Well, I'm pagan." And she was like, "Oh, I'm Wiccan. I love Wicca. I've been doing it for years. It's so wonderful." And we were talking about what we like about pagan spirituality. And then one of the wedding guests was this little old lady, looked to be, I don't know, in her 80s, hunchback, white, perm, thick glasses, looked dressed conservatively. And so she came out of the stall, and I was like, oh dear, what's she going to think of all this? And the woman talking to me was like, and this is our matriarch.
Aww.
It's like, oh, that makes me so happy. So happy. So I got to meet a little Wiccan lady who was very much like, yep. Seen it all. All is well. Blessed be. Go to bed.
Well, that's a mood.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminded me to never assume anything about the people I meet, because they can surprise you in good ways. I love you.
I love you too.
Cuidado.
Yamas.